Moved out without a word after discovering my fiancée's secret cheating escapades, now facing backlash from her family and friends. I, male 25, met my, now ex, fiancée in my first year of college. We were both 18 and went from friends to lovers pretty quickly. We clicked so well and everything was so easy and effortless. We had a really good relationship. It's the kind of relationship that everyone wishes they were in. The kind of relationship that people idolized and said if those two broke up, then love doesn't exist. You get the picture. For the purpose of this post, let's call my ex Ashley. Ashley was everything I was looking for in a woman. Funny, smart, attractive, down-to-earth and family-oriented. She wanted to build a life together. Our families got close over the course of our relationship. It was like we were already one big family before even getting married. As planned, I popped the question a year ago not knowing that this would change everything. She said yes of course, but things started to change. Slowly but surely, over the months, she became more distanced. I tried to ignore it and chalk it up to nervousness. You know, cold feet before taking the big marriage plunge. I should have trusted my instincts. She always went out with her group of friends on the weekends. I've been on these outings before, usually it's clubbing and drinking. It's not my scene but I trusted my girl so I had no problem with her going without me. These outings became much more frequent after I popped the question. I tried to ignore my gut feeling that something was wrong about this. I should have listened. Last week I get a text from one of her girlfriends. She said she feels super guilty about what's been going on. According to her, Ashley has been worried about getting married. She feels that she hasn't had a chance to explore other options and the prospect of getting locked down for life made her really anxious. On these outings, she will frequently flirt with guys, dance with them, grind on them, make out with them, to get it out of her system. Since she wasn't having sex with them, she didn't consider it cheating. According to the friend, she also gave one guy a BJ in the club bathroom. She sent me pictures and videos from some of those escapades. My heart sank. I felt like I died that day. I thanked the friend for telling me and told her to keep it between us. For me, any form of cheating is a big no-no. I knew it was over. What makes this worse is that I have a past with cheating. She knows about my high school ex who cheated on me, and being a stupid teenager, I tried to end it all. This just makes this whole situation cut even deeper. She knows how much hurt she could cause, and still went ahead with it. I wanted to crawl into bed and cry for a month. I wanted to be weak. I felt weak. I decided I would give myself the chance to mourn and cry over this after I protect myself. Me and my fiancée share an apartment that we both pay rent for 50-50. I decided to take 2 days off work and covertly started to move my things out to my brother's house across the city. He knows about everything and immediately offered his place to me. The first day I moved non-essential items out. When Ashley got back from work she made a comment about it, but I brushed it off by saying I sold some stuff and took some more stuff to a storage unit to tidy and clear space up in our apartment. She didn't question it. I was furious on the inside about everything that I found out about but kept cool to avoid suspicion. She noticed I was a bit withdrawn but I told her I was just tired and stressed from work. The second day, while she was at work, my brother and his wife came over to help me pack everything else and I was fully moved out by 3 p.m. that day. Since then, I have avoided every single form of communication sent by my ex. I have completely cut her off. I refuse to talk to her or her family. I don't even want to confront her about what happened. She came home that day and saw everything was gone. She texted all my friends and family who in turn texted me, but I only responded to my parents who are fully behind me and my decision. Her family and friends are blowing up my phone and saying that I'm an off for leaving without a word. They've even been blasting me on social media. I don't really care. She knows what she did. To me she is dead. She doesn't exist. Because of all this backlash, my brother and his wife are now also questioning if it was right of me to completely ignore everyone. This has caused me to doubt myself a bit, so here I am. Ada? Update 1. I didn't want to make this whole thing public. Despite what she did, some part of me still cares for her. I was with her for 6 years. You can't just throw that away overnight. I came to the conclusion that the right thing to do was to talk to her parents. Only her family needed to know. Everyone else can have whatever opinion they want of me, I don't care. The people who truly know me and are close to me are the only ones I care about. I sent a detailed message of what happened to my closest friends and family. All of them, of course, believed me right away, no pictures needed. I didn't feel like it was necessary or appropriate to spread those pictures of her, so I didn't. Now that the people I cared about were sorted, I moved on to her parents. I messaged her mom, who by the way I had gotten so close to I considered her a second mom and she considered me a son. She was very upset with me, but agreed to meet up. I felt like this needed to be an in-person conversation rather than a nuke I'd drop in an email with everyone they know CC'd. I met her mom and her dad at a diner we used to frequent for breakfast. I know, so cliché. It was quite emotional. They were understandably upset. They didn't do anything wrong and I cut them out of my life like nothing happened. I understood why they were upset, so when they were confronting me I was very quiet, just listening. Letting them get it all out. I admit I was tearing up with them. That is until they accused me of some things. It's been a whole week since all of this went down. In that week, a lot happened. Apparently, according to her parents, My ex convinced everyone that I cheated and that she kicked me out, and I haven't been answering anyone because I was so ashamed of what I had done. LOL, I literally laughed out loud. I responded by saying that I am sorry and I wished them a happy life and walked out. I was so fucking upset I couldn't even have imagined of being accused of this. What a fucking joke. I can't believe her parents would believe her and throw me under the bus so fast. I walked out because I'm pretty sure I would have said some things I'd regret to her parents. I didn't want to do this, but she left me no choice. I activated the nuclear option. I went home, made an email titled "For Your Reading Pleasure" and attached every picture her friend sent me, including screenshots of the chat with her friend where she expressed how guilty she felt about the cheating. I also attached the videos of her grinding and making out with other guys. I included a long explanation detailing everything that has happened since D-Day. I ended the email by saying that I do not wish to be contacted and that I expect my ring back at some point. I attached her parents, any friend I could think of, and a coworker that I just so happened to know as well. Fuck it. So that's where I'm at now. I may be the asshole for sending that email, but she really tested my fucking limits when I found out what she was telling people. I have zero regrets. Currently crashing at my brother's place on the pull-out couch. He's helping me get through this, as much as one can, I guess. Who knows what kind of fallout that email will create. Update 2. I wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone that reached out to me and offered kind words of support and advice. The reason it took me 2 months to be able to come back here and write an update is because so much has happened in such a short span of time that even I'm having trouble processing it. The fallout after I sent that nuke of an email was catastrophically hilarious. My phone was blowing up with my ex's friends and family asking me tons of questions. Before I had sent that email, everyone was under the impression that I was a cheater and was kicked out. That email not only cleared my name, it basically turned everyone against my ex. Rumors of what had happened started circulating at her job. I attached one of her coworkers to the email if you remember from my last update. Apparently she couldn't take the embarrassment and ended up quitting. Her parents were less than impressed and refused to take her back in. They reached out to me and apologized for the way things went down. They recognized that they didn't have all the facts and judged me too quickly. I'm cool with them now. They told me that my ex was struggling to make payments for her half of the rent. When I covertly moved out, I contacted our landlord and explained the situation. We only had 3 months left on the lease, so I paid my half for those 3 months, so I'm in the clear. Honestly, it was worth it even though I'm not living there. Our mutual friends also didn't take too kindly to being lied to and basically being manipulated to hate me. From what I've heard, most of our shared friends don't talk to her anymore. Even some of her girlfriends who knew what had been happening behind my back stopped talking to her, which is a little ironic if you ask me. I guess now that everything was public, no one wanted to be associated with her. And speaking of her friends, remember the one that initially came forward to me about this because she felt so bad? Yeah, so we're dating now. I guess through all the trauma, drama, and craziness, we started texting more and more. At first, she was just very supportive. She comforted me and helped me come to terms with what happened. But slowly and surely, we became closer and closer and started to talk about our lives, our interests, our dreams. We realized we had a lot in common. We are also both single and young. We kinda just fell right into it naturally. She's honestly so great. Very kind and loving. I am aware that some people may think this is just a rebound, but I'm really enjoying my time with her and things are going great. I feel great. Since everything went down, I have had no contact with my ex. I've heard through multiple friends that she is livid that I ghosted her and won't even talk to her. She says what I'm doing to her is torture because I won't even give our relationship closure. I just laughed because if she thinks what I'm doing is torture, then she's clueless about what she put me through. I'm honestly good. I will go the rest of my life without ever talking to her again. Call me petty. Call me dumb. I am who I am and I feel this is right. As for me, life is looking good. I'm dating an amazing girl. I've gotten so much support from my family and friends. It's nice to see who the real ones are, you know, the ones that actually stuck with me throughout this whole ordeal, and best of all, I feel like I'm really moving on from this whole thing. Update 3. Alright, so, buckle the hell up, because if I thought the previous fallout was wild, these last couple months have been a straight up fever dream, equal parts drama, awkward encounters, and some weird, unexpected twists. I'm updating from a real place of closure, but first, here's what really went down. First off, let's talk about the infamous engagement ring. Out of nowhere, about a month after my last update, my ex actually emailed me. Subject line, about your ring. No apology, no how are you, just let's coordinate a time for you to collect your property. Classic Ashley, zero self-awareness, all business. She was staying with a mutual friend at this point. Her parents are still, as far as I know, not talking to her, so I arranged to swing by while she wasn't home. Our mutual friend left the ring in a tiny brown envelope taped to their apartment door. No note, no drama. I can't lie, it stung a bit to hold it, but mostly I just felt freed. I sold it a week later. Put the money in savings for a solo trip I'm planning next year, more on that later. Now the bombshell. A little over a month ago, I started getting cryptic messages from old friends, stuff like, dude, did you see Facebook? Normally I ignore social media drama, but curiosity got the best of me. Ashley had posted a long, weepy apology/manifesto. It was public, tagged to our mutual friends, her family, her co-workers, everyone. The gist? She admitted everything, more or less, but spun it to say she was a deeply lost and anxious person who acted out of fear and confusion. No direct apology to me. Just lots of "I was emotionally stunted and I hope those I hurt can one day understand my struggle." She deleted it after about a day, but the comments section was savage. Even people I barely knew called her out for the BS. Several of our mutuals texted me, mostly joking about how Ashley seemed to be writing her own villain's monologue. What genuinely staggered me was that her public reckoning brought a couple old faces out of the woodwork, including my high school ex, the infamous cheater. She DM'd me, wanting to chat about our shared experience. I ignored it at first, because, come on, but then curiosity got the better of me and I agreed to a quick call. It ended up being more cathartic than expected. She apologized, for real, for how she'd hurt me, and told me she was following my story because it sounded eerily like her karmic payback in her own recent breakup. We don't talk now, but at least there's finally closure on that ancient wound. As for the new relationship, yeah, I'm dating the friend who came forward. Let's call her Sarah to make this less confusing. At first, it felt surreal, and we agreed to keep things under the radar while the dust settled because, I'll admit, we were both skittish about optics. But, honestly, it just works. Sarah and I have spent a lot of time going to small concerts, cooking at her place, and doing things I used to think were too domestic but now just feel good. Easy. For my birthday, which was a week ago, she got me tickets to a hiking retreat next spring, kind of a time celebration for surviving all this chaos. That meant more to me than any grand romantic gesture. She gets it. But, because there's always a but, there was one incredibly weird twist I didn't see coming. Out of the blue, the original friend group, the same people who mostly dropped Ashley after the whole saga, invited both me and Sarah to a big group dinner. I almost bailed. But Sarah convinced me to go, for closure's sake. The dinner started out a little uncomfortable, some awkward pats on the back, a few sheepish "I'm sorry we" listened to her side first speeches, and then we all collectively moved past it. Then, halfway through the night, one of Ashley's former close friends, who'd initially sided with her, stood up and delivered the world's most unexpected toast, a stumbly, tipsy, genuine thing about owning your mistakes, learning from other people's honesty, and saying yes to new beginnings. It ended with everyone raising cheap margaritas to growth. I can't say I ever thought I'd cheers to that, as the ex-fiancée at the table, but damn if it didn't feel nice. So here I am now, single-ish, happy-ish, mostly just appreciating the low drama days. I'm still sleeping at my brother's, he's trying to get me into joining his weird CrossFit group, which, after all this, feels almost normal. I'm planning that solo Europe trip for next fall. Sarah might join for part of it, just as friends, just for fun, no pressure. Okay, maybe a little pressure, we'll see. I haven't heard from Ashley in about a month. Last I heard, she got a new job in retail, is paying off some debts, and moved in with a cousin somewhere across town. Our time together genuinely feels like another lifetime, which is wild considering this all kicked off less than a year ago. Final random story, because life is weird, my landlord actually sent both me and Ashley a very sweet email after the lease ended, saying, "Hope you two find peace wherever life takes you. P.S. The handyman found an unopened bottle of wine under the sink. You're both welcome to it if you stop by." We both declined. And that's where things stand. No nuclear drama. Just new beginnings, a lot of reflection, and, surprisingly, zero desire to look back. Thanks, honestly, for giving me a place to vent all this. The wild ride is officially over, and for the first time in a while, it finally feels like the most interesting thing happening in my life is what I actually choose next, not what someone else did to me. That's something worth raising a cheap margarita to. Cheers. Update 4. Let me start with the good news. That bottle of wine the landlord mentioned? After a hilariously awkward text chain, who even left it, me or you? Pretty sure it was from your birthday 2 years ago. Sarah and I ended up picking it up together on a Saturday afternoon. We walked the block down memory lane past the old apartment, laughing our asses off at the heavy-handed symbolism of splitting up the abandoned wine. We popped the cork right there on my brother's stoop as the sun was setting, just to see if it had survived all the drama. Spoiler, it tasted like vinegar, but we drank 2 glasses out of principle and poured a little out for the past, with all its chaos. That became kind of a benchmark moment for letting things go. The weird positivity train kept rolling. But here's where it got crazy. Out of absolutely nowhere, I got a message from an unfamiliar name with the subject urgent, legal notice. My heart about stopped. Was Ashley suing me for defamation, or some leftover lease technicality? When I opened it, though, the body of the message made my blood boil, then made me burst out laughing. It was a very official sounding letter. From one of Ashley's cousin's roommates, threatening to take appropriate civil action if I didn't untag their picture in a group post from Sarah's hiking retreat. Apparently, they're gunning for teaching jobs and were shamed by association with my account. The mind boggles. I emailed back, respectfully apologizing and promptly untagged them, but it was a tiny reminder that sometimes, people can become cartoonish after enough drama. That same week, my dumb luck in the cosmos flipped a little, my high school principal, who I hadn't seen or thought about since graduation, ran into my parents at a hardware store. He'd apparently stumbled onto Ashley's public apology/manifesto while tracking down old students for the school's 10-year reunion. According to my mom, he gasped, "That's our John," and called me soon after to invite me to a closure panel where former students talk about resilience and life after adversity. The universe is either winking at me or roasting me, but I agreed. I'll be giving a ridiculous little speech at my old gymnasium next month, which is already giving me middle school flashbacks. Sarah says I should start with, "Don't propose before you see what a club bathroom looks like with the lights on." We'll see. As for Sarah and me, yeah, it's real. We're not using labels and we're slow rolling things, but kidding ourselves would be pointless. She's basically my person these days. The best indicator? My parents invited her to Thanksgiving already, and my brother's wife slyly moved my temporary box of stuff out of the guest room and into Sarah's trunk last weekend. She claims it was to make room for baby gifts. They just found out they're expecting. I'll take the hint. Here's what really got to me, though. Last weekend, at maybe 2 a.m., I got a string of missed calls from Ashley's old number. No voicemail, no texts, just like 11 missed calls in half an hour. I stared at my phone and, against my better judgment, answered on the 12th ring. Ashley's voice, somewhere between apologetic and exhausted, just poured out in a jumble. She told me she was in counseling, that she finally, truly understood what she had done to me and to herself, and that she wanted to thank me for not retaliating in public or shaming her worse. She asked me not to forgive her, but to forget her. That line stuck with me. She said she was moving out of state for a new job and didn't want me to think she vanished without saying goodbye. Her voice broke a couple times, and I just listened, murmured "I hope you find peace," and let the call end. It was weirdly final. I felt lighter the minute I put my phone down. After that, the flood of residual drama slowed to a trickle. Our friends moved on to new jobs, new relationships, new problems, sagas about landlords and puppies, not betrayals. I signed up for the CrossFit class, God help me, and my thighs have never hurt so much in my life. The trip fund from the ring sale is growing, which means that solo Europe trip next year now has an itinerary pinned to my fridge. Sarah's joining me for Prague and Budapest, already looking up hostels and hiking trails. It's been an odd, unpredictable, twisty year. What started as the darkest betrayal I'd ever felt turned into this patchwork of old wounds healing, lost wine bottles discovered, wild public apologies, absurd legal threats, surprise reunions, and clunky half-closure. Life didn't just move on, it ricocheted, reset, rewired itself, truly. If I see a moral in any of it, it's maybe this: let people reveal who they are, and when they do, listen. Be kind, but don't get trampled. Sometimes, letting go isn't passive, it's power. And if you ever find an unopened bottle of wine after a breakup, drink it, even if it tastes like vinegar. It will definitely taste like freedom. Update 5: I almost didn't post this, but seeing as this whole ongoing saga began with a desperate, half-angry Reddit rant, I figure it's only fair to bring it full circle. If nothing else, future me deserves a record of just how bonkers 1 year in your 20s can become, so, buckle up. Turns out, some stories tie up quietly, then casually drop a grenade through the mailbox. The strangest headline first: remember the bottle of wine stoop moment? That bury the past image stuck with us more than we knew. 2 weeks ago, Sarah's cousin, who dabbles in photography and art installations, asked if he could use that whole scene for his graduation project. Apparently, he thought our urban letting go was deeply Gen Z. So, yes, there's now a carefully staged black and white photo of me and Sarah laughing with half-filled vinegar wine glasses, commemorating both heartbreak and closure, hanging in a university gallery downtown. The kicker? The piece is called Unbottled. If you'd told me a year ago my lowest point would get turned into modern art, I would have choked. But that's nowhere near the wildest part. Last Saturday, after a particularly hellish CrossFit class, my quads now permanently hate me for existing, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was an attorney, but not Ashley's cousin's roommate this time, thank God. No, he was representing someone else entirely. Long story short, Ashley's parents were trying to reconcile. They'd been through their own twisty mediation since everything went public, and they now wanted to see if I'd consider meeting them for coffee, not out of obligation, but because they wanted to give proper closure and offer a formal apology. Reader, I did not want to go. But curiosity, and something not unlike compassion, got the better of me. So there I was, at that same diner where we'd met months ago post-breakup. They were older, somehow. We talked about football, about their attempts to help Ashley get her feet back, about how they felt cheated by the secrets and lies, too. What I didn't expect was this: Ashley's mom pulled out a battered notebook, slid it across the table, and said it was from Ashley. She wanted you to have what you left behind, when you were still planning the wedding. It was my old notebook, the one where I scribbled out half-serious vows during a boring shift at work. I'd totally forgotten I'd left it in a drawer back then. I flipped through those pages, lines both hopeful and now painfully naive. But here's the thing, it didn't hurt, not the way I expected. I thanked them, we paid the bill, and I walked out into the cold with a kind of peace. Sometimes closure is an envelope. Sometimes it's a mismatched set of words on a page. Things with Sarah, meanwhile, have moved into this slow burning, probably for real phase. We finally told our whole circle we're together, and the response was mostly supportive, hardly any side eye. Maybe everyone just ran out of gas for drama. My brother and his wife have gone full baby mode. Their entire apartment is now pastel and stuffed with things that squeak. Sarah's basically grand auntie already, which has set some low-key domestic wheels turning in my head. For now, we're just taking every day as it comes. But we did book a real vacation for Prague and Budapest next fall, complete with 2 hostels and 1 irresponsible night in a fancy hotel planned to see how the other half lives. And, oh, the closure panel at my old high school. I was nervous as hell, but the gym was half filled with awkward teens, teachers, and a few old faces from my own graduating class who'd somehow heard what happened and came for moral support. My speech? Rough around the edges and comedic on purpose. I even used Sarah's suggested opening line, "Don't lock down your love life right after seeing a club bathroom at closing time." It landed better than expected. A bunch of people came up after, sharing their own weird almost marriage stories, their own battle scars. It was striking, how many old wounds just sit there, waiting for even the smallest chance at sharing. Afterwards, I got a text from an unknown number, a random student, I figure, saying, "Thanks for admitting you didn't have it all figured out. Makes me feel less crazy about what I'm going through." That hit me harder than any drama this past year. But here's where the circle closes, and, somehow, the universe again proves it has a sense of humor. 2 nights ago, Sarah and I decided to actually spend the night at the now vacant old apartment. The landlord is turning it into an Airbnb and let us do a reunion dinner as a thank you for always paying on time. As we sat on the dusty living room floor, eating takeout and drinking cheap beer, I realized, this whole place, cursed as it once felt, was just a box full of memories. Memories don't bite. The new tenant knocked to say hi. She seemed nice, asked what the best delivery spot in the neighborhood was, and whether anything weird ever happened in the apartment. Sarah and I looked at each other, and, in total unison, said, "Nothing you need to worry about. Just clean the bathroom well." Walking home, Sarah said, "That's it. That's the real closure." And weirdly, she was right. So, that's the final chapter, for real this time. My life isn't an epic, just a series of ridiculous, painful, hopeful moments strung together, flavored by cheap wine and unexpected friends, dimmed by betrayal and lit up again by kindness. If there's another twist, I hope it's gentle. But right now, for the first time maybe ever, the scariest part of moving forward isn't what I'll lose, it's how much more life there is to gain. Update 6. I didn't actually intend to write again. After the closure dinner at the old apartment, I really thought, that's it, put a bow on it, movie's over. But the universe apparently queued up one last scene, and this one, weirdly, turns everything I thought I knew inside out. So, for anyone still following, hang tight, this is probably the strangest, most raw, and hopeful thing I've ever written. Here's what actually happened, because apparently, life stays unpredictable even after you think you've learned your lesson. It started with a letter. Not an email, not a text, but an actual, old school, in the mailbox, handwritten letter. Sarah and I had just come back from dropping off an armful of pastel onesies and baby books at my brother's place. Yes, my niece is adorable. Yes, Sarah is already spoiling her. Sitting by the door, with no return address, was a thick envelope. I opened it. In careful cursive, Ashley's mom's handwriting, I found a note, "We think you should have this, but we needed time before we could let it go." Folded inside, a bundle of photos, all from college and the first few years with Ashley. Birthday parties, awkward formal dances, lazy mornings at the farmer's market. I almost set them aside, but curiosity always wins. Here's the thing, flipping through those mostly forgotten photos, the anger wasn't there. It was strange, there was almost a nostalgia, this bittersweet fondness for a younger self who thought love never ended, who trusted way too easily, who still believed every weekend could be golden if you held on hard enough. The letter ended with a line that made me pause, "Memory is not always an enemy." For the first time, I think I understood what they meant. That past version of me wasn't naive, or weak, or foolish, just wildly in love, once. That counts for something. But the big twist wasn't the photos. It was what came next, less than a week later. Sarah and I were packing for Prague, her list longer than my entire wardrobe, me trying to figure out which charger works in Europe, when I got the most unlikely DM. Ashley's cousin, the one she was living with post-breakup, messaged me out of nowhere. I almost deleted it unread, because, come on, surely we're done here, but the subject line caught me, "Ashley's story, for you, if you want it." Inside was a brief, formal note letting me know that Ashley, for her own reasons, had joined a therapy group that shares reconciliation journals as a form of closure for both themselves and, if possible, their former partners. The cousin offered to email me a copy of Ashley's. I sat with that email for a solid hour. Sarah saw my face and just said, "You don't have to read it. But if you do, I'll be here for however you feel after." Reader, of course I read it. I guess this is my curse, I always want to understand. The journal ran 20 pages, printed and scanned, mostly in Ashley's careful block lettering. It was brutally honest, sometimes almost too raw. She described her anxiety before the engagement, her sense of suffocation, her panic at everyone else writing the next years of my life for me, and most painfully, the emptiness she felt even while she was acting out. She admitted she was drawn to the attention not because she wanted to hurt me, her words, not mine, but because she was terrified of disappointing everyone who saw us as perfect. There was an apology, not dramatic, not performative, but quietly direct. You deserved a version of me I couldn't be, and I'm sorry I hurt you trying to pretend. What hit me hardest, though, wasn't about cheating or betrayal. It was a section about memory. Ashley wrote, "If we are honest, the golden years still shine, even if the ending burned. I hope one day you'll remember us without bitterness and maybe even smile for the love that was real, even if it didn't last." I read that 3 times. It's a strange comfort to finally know the truth, not filtered through anger or rumors or shame. After some weird internal debate, I emailed a brief thank you to Ashley's cousin. I told them to let Ashley know I appreciated the honesty and wished her well, wherever she ended up. That was it. The effect was quiet, but seismic. It felt like I finally set the last stone in place, like maybe the universe was done with me for a while. In the real world, life kept rolling. Sarah and I boarded our flight to Prague, anxious and giddy and sleep deprived. We hiked, we ate more dumplings than I thought possible, we got lost looking for our hostel, which, of course, turned out to be across from a karaoke bar that played ABBA till 4 a.m. And on our last night, in a tiny square, Sarah stopped, snapped a dumb selfie, and said, "Your life isn't about what you lost anymore, you know. It's what you're actually living." I grinned. She was right. Back home, there were no more letters, no more calls, no more ghosts lurking in old inboxes. When my brother finally brought the baby home, he said, "None of us really knew what the next day looked like." I realized how weirdly comforting that is. After all that's happened, maybe uncertainty is just another word for hope. For anyone out there following along, who's waded through a year's worth of breakups, makeups, awkward stoop wine, CrossFit-induced soreness, actual legal notices, and epistolary therapy, here's the last, best twist: not every ending is a cliffhanger. Some endings really do just end. Some stories just give you back your ordinary, gentle days. Some heartbreaks end, and what's left is not just survival, but space for something better, brighter, honest, full of music echoing from across a square in a city you never dreamed you'd see. For the record, this time, I left the wine in the hostel fridge. Someone else can take the mystery bottle. I've had enough of that flavor for a lifetime.